Hey everybody. Yeah, I guess you could say this is take two, but as you can see up there, it says any old SD format can be seen in HD. What I'm saying is that I'm pretty sure you realize that there's a lot of stations and cable channels out there, like the Hub, Cartoon Network, Boomerang, Disney Channel, Disney XD, among others. Even Funimation. That when they broadcast old shows from the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, if you will, that they all can be seen in high definition on a high definition channel on the high definition counterpart channel, if you will. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, it's because they can convert it right then and there. It's because they know what to do with it. Now, okay, first of all, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, that's because it's being broadcast to two different channels. So it's one probably, basically what they're probably using, and you might say this, and I'm sure Sean McLean and a few others would say this, like David Bunch-Numbers and MJ Knight, that the reason it can be shown on both a standard screen and a high-def screen is due to the fact that they're using the DVD. And that's probably true. That's probably true, very much so. But, is it totally true? Because you see, when Zara Nazarak responded to me about, is, Blu-ray possible or something like that for the next step for animation shows of the past and everything, he made a lot of sense about what he said. He said that basically certain shows from, like, say, Justice League Unlimited, for example, those shows, like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, those shows were already branded for high def right off the bat. That Warner Brothers, when they did those, knew what they were doing. They were planning for the future with those kind of shows. Now, I'm not sure they were planning the same thing with Superman and Batman that came before it, but still. Now, he has said that a lot of the shows, live action shows of the 80s, 70s, and 60s, and even 50s, the reason that they are capable of Blu-ray releases is because they were actually done on film. They were actually done on film, even though they were broadcast on television. They were filmed on actual film. They weren't filmed on broadcast tape or master tapes or anything like that. And that's totally understandable. But here's the thing, though. If that's the case, then why are there certain programs that you can download and install into your computer? And why are there certain online programs that you can do online that allow you to convert to a higher quality? Let me explain. We all know about Sony Vegas. We know about the Sony Vegas programs, more importantly, Vegas 9. We know that, and obviously you've seen it with my fan vids, the highest you go on there is 1080p. Okay, no problem. And you definitely see, even if you're watching it in the standard 480, if you will, you can see the clarity, you can see the difference. You can see how clear it is, even with the standard 480p. You can tell that the 1080 HD is there, even though you're watching it in standard 480p, you can still tell that it was cleaned up and sharpened for high definition. Now, the reason I say that, the reason I bring that up, is because, like Vegas 9, there's a program online called onlineconvert.com. Now, depending on what video source you use, whether it's like an HD video source like I'm using right now, or either it's a standard video source, if you decide you want to convert it up to a higher definition, you'll get that. The only problem is the screen will remain the same. For example, if I decide, let's say, to convert this into 1080p through onlineconvert.com or through Vegas Studio, Vegas9.com, it'll still be the same size. It'll still be the widescreen high definition that fills up this entire screen, if you will, but it'll be a higher quality. It'll be converted to a higher, more sharper quality. The same can be said for standard, but the difference is you won't get it stretched out. You'll get it the same way you have. Now, I'm sure somehow you can pretty much figure out how to do it, stretch it out on YouTube if you were to use it to, if you were to place the 1080p on YouTube. I think I just did that moments ago. I don't know how. Oh, when I tried to see what it looked like in 1080p. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is most of the time you're just going to get the regular size screen. It's like you're watching regular standard television, but you're getting a sharper picture. That's what it is. You're getting the 1080 high def picture, but it's not going to be stretched out or anything. It's just going to be the regular standard box or a standard screen. 4x3 screen is what it's going to be. It's going to be the standard 4x3 screen, but it'll give you the option. Let's say you go to YouTube, upload it. You'll notice you'll still have that standard 4x3 screen, but you'll have the option of seeing it in 1080p if you feel like it. I know I kind of repeated myself there, so I apologize. But again, that is a way of actually watching something in high def, even though you'll just still have the standard 4x3 screen. You'll be able to see the clarity and difference. I mean, if you look at my videos, and you see the Run With Us video that I uploaded a couple days ago, you'll notice that it's sharper and it's clearer, and it's got the option of either seeing it in 720 or 720p or 1080p HD. The reason being is because I went to Online Convert and made it that way. The thing about OnlineConvert.com is it allows you to, when you do the video format, it allows you to choose what size you want. Now we all know 1920 out of 1080 or 1920 out of 1440 is basically 1080 all the way. The 1440 part, of course, being Blu-ray, or at least Blu-ray quality, if you will. Sharper, clearer, crisper quality, let's just put it that way. And you can see that. I mean, you look at all the other Run With Us uploads that people have done of that music video, then you compare it to that, and it blows your mind of how clear it is, how sharper and better it looks. Heck, I did that with two versions. I did two high-def versions of my Is There Anyone comic fan vid that I did back in 2006, and I uploaded in 2008. And the big thing is, you could see the clarity with the 1080p version. You could see it right off the bat, even though it's boxed in, even though it's the standard 4x3, and maybe it's somehow, I guess if you used it, I don't know how it's done, but basically it's the standard 1080p, if you know what I mean. Now, you might say, well, okay, that makes sense, but what does that have to do with with what you're saying? Well, let me continue on. You see, I know I probably didn't make sense to this, so I apologize, but let me continue on. There's other programs out there besides the programs that just allow you to convert it up to a higher quality but still have that standard 4x3 screen, or if you're using HD video like I am, 6x9 screen, whatever. There are other programs out there that allow you to actually take your standard 4x3, 360 or 480 or even 240 pixel picture and convert it to high definition and have the picture stretched out. One, for example, is Any Video Converter. Any Video Converter gives you the option, basically, to have a picture stretched out, a standard 480 picture, a standard definition 4x3 picture stretched out and made into a widescreen 720 HD picture. I know, it doesn't make sense, but it's true. It's true, and I'm sure anybody that's used that program knows what I mean. So basically the point I'm trying to make here is no matter what people say, with all due respect, there's always going to be a way to watch old SD 4x3 in HD. Now, Zara Neissereich said, basically, that there's always going to be, that it is possible, that it is, if they wanted to, is possible to put a lot of the old standard stuff that was only done on broadcast master tapes onto Blu-ray, but the quality may basically not be so good. And I'm totally understanding of that. That's why I totally understand that, and that's why I appreciate the fact that we have the DVDs, we have the DVD releases, because that's probably the best. That's the best we can go right now for official releases. But then again, when I think about it and I look at these programs that I mentioned, you look at and use these programs that I mentioned, I come to realize something. I come to realize that maybe the only thing that's holding these companies back, either the big companies like Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, MGM, or whether it's the smaller companies like Mill Creek and Shout Factory and Encircle. The one thing I think that's holding them back from taking that leap, taking that risk, if you will, is the fact that they haven't figured out how to take a converted SD standard format of 4x3 programming, whether it's master taped, especially if it's a master tape broadcast format. They haven't figured out how to take that converted format and put it on Blu-ray safely without ruining any quality. It's the truth. That's what I feel, in my opinion, my honest, humble opinion, is holding them back from even attempting it, if they wanted to. Is the fact that they know, just like we do, that it can be done. The format can be converted. But the only problem is trying to find a way to take that converted format and safely, without ruining anything, put it on a Blu-ray disc for distribution. I mean, honestly, here's the thing. Think about it this way. Why do you think you haven't seen continuations of a lot of the animated shows, series from Disney and Warner Brothers? Why haven't you seen a continuation of the Rescue Rangers sets, or series, or conclusion to it? The same with Tailspin, Gummy Bears, Darkwing, Gargoyles. Why do you think you haven't seen it? DuckTales, if you will. Why do you think you have not seen a completion of all those series? Maybe due to the fact that they're looking at a possibility, or maybe they're waiting and looking and hoping for the opportunity to present itself to where they can convert all those episodes successfully and probably have an opportunity down the line to Blu-ray. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen and that's the reason they stopped. And I'm not saying it's because of sales either. I'm just saying maybe that's why Disney has stopped doing it. Maybe they're waiting for that opportunity to open up and say, you know what? Here it is, let's take it. Not saying it will ever happen. The same could be said for Warner Brothers. Maybe the reason we haven't seen a continuation of Tiny Toons. Maybe the reason we haven't seen a continuation of Animaniacs. And such, and Freakazoid and all that. Maybe the reason is because people they're waiting. They're basically waiting for things to happen. Maybe they're waiting for that opportunity to present itself right there. Not saying that it's going to happen because, like Zara Neissereich said, it's not going to be possible. But you never know. I mean, Hollywood and all these companies, they're willing to take any risk they can. Make any kind of buck they can, right? Who's to say they won't attempt something like that? And who's to say that's not the reason why certain shows, like I said, like Rangers, like Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, Gargoyles, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, why do you think possibly they haven't been finished or completed? Maybe it's because these companies are waiting it out. Maybe these companies are like, okay, we know these can be converted. We know these shows can be converted to 1080p in 1080p because we show them on our HD counterpart channels. They know, maybe they're thinking, we know they can be converted, but now the only problem the only other problem that we need to figure out, or the other solution we need to come up with an answer for, is trying to take that conversion and put it on Blu-ray carefully, safely, without ruining anything. Again, I'm not saying that that's what they're thinking, and I'm not saying that's the reason we haven't seen any continuations, but you got to think to yourself, there's a reason, right? I mean, if they know like we do, and I know I'm repeating myself here, but if they know like we do that you could take an old show, use a converting program, we said something like onlineconvert.com, any video converter or something like that, or even Vegas, and convert that picture, that thing, into high definition for 1080p, at the highest being 1080p, so they can be seen on high definition screens through an HD counterpart and all that. My guess, in my honest opinion, is perhaps they're just waiting for a solution to be made. A solution that will say, look, we can put as much, we can do the Blu-rays, put as much as we want on there, and not ruin the quality. Maybe that's what they're looking for. That's what they're waiting for, is that solution. When or if it'll ever come, is totally up to whoever comes up with the idea. But I'm thinking, in my honest opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you've got the right to do that, I believe that's why we haven't seen future volumes. Alright? Now, to end this, let me say this. I talked about Mill Creek and Shout Factory and Ed Circle being in the same category. I talked about earlier how Warner Brothers, with Justice League and Justice League of America, had those already presented and ready for high def, according to what Sarah Nizorak said, because you could see the proof with the Blu-rays that they released. But, here's the thing. They released. But here's the thing. They took their time. They knew what they were doing. But you take a look at companies like, say, Mill Creek and End Circle and Shout Factory, you can't really say either yay or nay they'd be the kind that would do this. That they would attempt Blu-ray releases of the shows, even though, as Sean has said, and many others may agree with him, or probably will agree with him, the quality may go down. Who's to say Mill Creek and Shout Factory and End Circle wouldn't be the first ones to attempt this? Because you got to think about it. They know Blu-ray is capable of holding more, but are they willing to do it? I mean, Mill Creek has a mixed reputation of releasing more for less, but also has a reputation that when they do so, sometimes they mess up on a few things. Like certain scenes from like a cartoon or episode get cut out, and certain things like that. But most of the time they're all right. Most of the time they're cool. I mean, Zaren Isaac said it himself. He said, when he got Cops, that the quality may not have been as good as the Shout Factory ones, but at least the entire series had been released at a cheaper price. So the question now gets presented, would they be the first three to attempt it, even though maybe, as Zaren Isaac said, the quality may go down if they attempt Blu-ray? I don't know. But again, as the title says there, there's always a way to watch old S480 SD in HD. So, and again, going back to what I said about the major studios, perhaps the reason they're waiting is because they know that, just the title of this video says, but they're also waiting for a solution, an answer of how they could take that and safely put it onto a Blu-ray or something like that without ruining anything. So, but that's my thoughts on it. That's all I have to say. Comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll talk to you all later. And video response if you like. I would appreciate that.